Hello and welcome to a Joy Sports special interview with assistant coach of the Black Stars, George Boateng. We'll be taking a look at his recent decision of stepping down as the head coach of Aston Villa's under-23, what motivated that decision, and also looking ahead to the 2022 World Cup in Qatar that he helped the country qualify. We'll also be getting personal with him to know what his next plans are. Without any further introduction, let me welcome my guest, George Boateng. It's a pleasure to have you, George.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah. Let's start off with your return to Ghana. First off, welcome back to Ghana. How long have you been around and how has it been? Like, any changes so far?
I've just been on just over a week. As soon as I agreed to leave Aston Villa, I decided to come here and have a few more days with the family and also equally have discussions with the FA. So I'm kind of like combining work with a bit of leisure.
Let's talk about the big one, your decision to leave Aston Villa's under-23 side. At what point did you make this decision?
Well, we've been having conversations with Aston Villa ever since we qualified with Ghana for the World Cup. The FA has been very professional, similar like how they did it before the qualification matches for the World Cup against Nigeria. I've always indicated to the FA that it's always Aston Villa that would dictate because they are my main priority. And the FA acted really professional as usual with requesting my services for the country. And when they said that they would like me to stay on as the assistant coach up until the World Cup, I was really, really honored and obliged with the good news. However, Aston Villa would play a huge part in it. So the discussions have been going on since really March, I think, this year. But it intensified around June because as we were getting closer to September games with Ghana, then the decision had to be made rather sooner than later.
And so it is a very recent one. I mean, at the point where you decided that you were no longer going to take this job again. How difficult was the decision at the point where you said, okay, I would have to choose Ghana?
Very difficult because, you know, as a player, I've played 3 seasons for Aston Villa in the early 2000s where we had a fantastic team, playing in Europe, finishing 5th, I think, and 8th in the season. So the Villa fans are quite well respected in the sense that they know what I've done for the club. So coming back as a coach was also a big thing because some of the fans of Villa still didn't forgive me and nor forgotten that I left to go to Middlesbrough as a player. So coming back to the club as a coach was really brilliant for me that the fans embraced my return. Having said that, I've spent 3 good seasons with the academy, starting as the under-18s assistant coach, then getting promoted to the under-21s, under-23s, currently under-21 squad, which was for me also another big promotion and a step closer to the real action, I would say. So I've learned a lot, and starting at Villa as a coach from 3 seasons ago to now, I can look back and say that I've improved a lot as a coach. Equally, I've learned also a lot. So the decision to step down wasn't easy at all.
What would you describe as some of the highlights during your coaching time at Aston Villa?
Well, I think for me, getting promoted to the under-23 squad was one of the big moments for me because after a season with the 18s, the club realized that I have potential as a coach. As a coach, you always believe in yourself. You believe that you can do the job. However, you need recognition. And when that recognition came as promotion to the under-23 squad, for me, it was a big thing. That was really one of the highlights. But the one that stands out for me has to be, well, actually there's 2. There's 3, now that I'm thinking about it. In the league, we played in the Papa John's Trophy last season with the under-23s. which is against League One oppositions, but we are under 23 squad of players of around 16, 17, 18 years old. I think the oldest I had at the time last season was 19, and there were 4 games against the League One opposition, and we won 3 out of those, which was for us amazing, because the season before, 2 seasons ago, the first game of the Papa John's Trophy away at Sunderland, we got beat 9-1, which was just, a shock to the system. And so a year later, if you look at how the players have developed, and you've then managed to win 3 out of 4 games against the League One opposition, that's one of the biggest highlights for me on my time at Aston Villa. Of course, winning the Youth Cup, the 18s coaches did that mainly, but the players that they had, 90% were all on the under 23 squad. So then they would go drop down an age group lower to perform for the FA Youth Cup. So I think as a whole PDP phase, everybody was really honoured that the boys did it to win the FA Youth Cup.
Now it's time for a really interesting question, because when I was reading the statement, I think one of the key takeaways was the fact that you mentioned that you want to now focus on the Black Stars job ahead of the World Cup. There's been a lot of conversation on social media, but I just want to find out, was it a case that you had to choose between your Aston Villa job and the Black Stars?
Yeah, well, people always speculate, everybody would like to have their say, and I have no issues with that, if I'm honest. I think sports is amazing. It brings people together, and everybody should and have a voice. So there's nothing wrong with that. But I would like to say that it's not that I was forced to leave the job, but you have to respect the club as well. And the discussions was always between the club, what's the best thing for the club, what's the best thing for the coach, George Boateng, and what's the best thing overall moving forward also for what George wants to do. And George was adamant that he wants to really do the World Cup with Ghana. George wants and feels that it's the right decision to stay with Ghana and help. And then you come to a conclusion that both jobs are full-time and both jobs demand a lot of time. And being the person that I am, I don't like to lack in any department of what I do or what I undertake. So to be fully committed, I have to make a decision. And when I looked at the overall picture, to me, it was the best decision for the club, because when I'm away, every time on international duty, especially the World Cup, could be anything from 3 weeks to 6 weeks. And to be away from the role that I'm doing, the club said that it's almost impossible, because I'll be missed. And it's not like you can replace somebody who knows the curriculum, who knows the program, and more importantly, who's been working with the players for the last 3 seasons. And then we both decided that it was best for me to then resign from one of my duties, which would be the Aston Villa one, and prolong my career with Ghana going forward.
Well, that's a very good one that you talk about. You've now been about 6 months into the job as a Black Stars assistant coach. First off, let me find out from you how the overall experience has been.
A challenging one, definitely, but one that I really embraced. I think you learn on the job, even though you have a bit of experience in terms of coaching-wise, you still find that there are situations and certain things, aspect of the coaching role that still comes as a surprise. So you have to adapt and you have to react and act quickly and try to be always a step ahead of what you think might happen. But I've enjoyed it. And I think for me, the pleasure so far has been, without a doubt, we were not the favourites to beat Nigeria to qualify. But if you look at the whole, the way we as a technical staff, as the FA, and also as the group of players we had at the time, if you look at how everybody contributed, for me, that's where the pleasure is. There's definitely nothing better than being able to say that I was part of that squad, that team that qualified Ghana for the World Cup. And it's the way we did it. If we were playing like a team that we were heavenly favourites to win, and we did it, I don't think that everybody would react in a way that they have. But I think, truth be told, everybody had Nigeria as favourites. But as we all know, in football, that doesn't say anything.
Yeah. You started answering this question by saying it was a bit challenging. Are there any particular challenges that you've had to go through, especially comparing coaching a club side to a national side?
Oh, of course. I mean, it's common sense, really, if you think about it. At club level, you've got the group of players, the squad you've got. You are constantly working with them on a daily basis to instill a program, to instill a formation, a system, and a style of play. It's a lot easier because you can drill them on a daily basis. But with international level, you only get the players for a certain amount of days. And it's very, very challenging to get a group of players in that short of space to play the style and to understand the philosophy and to also know what their roles and responsibilities are. Very, very difficult. And that is challenging. And also because you haven't got a fully 26, 20, 25, 23 squad men that every week you are picking from, it makes it even more challenging because the pool of players that we have is huge. And every day you hear, oh, this one is now doing really well. You should have a look at him. Okay, I will. This one is doing great. Then all of a sudden, the ones that you are relying on pick up an injury or have COVID or personal issues. So all these are quite challenging, but one that I think will make me personally a better coach eventually, because you learn on the job, you've got the experience, but can you also perform under pressure and adapt as quickly as you can? If you want to work at World Cup stage, World Cup level, these are the requirements.
Well, speaking of your experiences so far, you're part of the team that went to Japan for the 2022 Korean Cup. A bit of mixed feelings there, losing 4-0 to Japan and then showing resilience against Chile despite being 2 men down, still managing to pull a draw in normal time and then finish as 3rd place after winning on penalties. What would you say were some of the key learnings from the Korean Cup?
Well, I have to say that we talked about challenges, right, earlier. And before we went to Japan, we had lots of challenges as coaching staff, but also as a team and as management. And the FA had challenging situations. We did not encounter COVID issues, which can happen any day. So we also had personal issues from players in terms of family issues, and we also had players who were close to signing for a new team, which also had to travel away from Japan. So it wasn't easy. And then putting a squad together to be able to travel to Japan to play those games was quite difficult. But once we got there, I thought it was really good. And these kind of friendly games, of course, nobody wants to lose any game. But we as a staff saw the games more as very usable to see who is capable to perform for us in September and the World Cup and beyond that. So every game we play, whether it's a friendly, whether it's a tournament or whether it's an AFCON game, the players know, they are well aware that they are basically showing their abilities. And every game will prove that, oh, okay, he succeeded, so he's good enough for us to take him to go forward. A good example would be Alidu Seidu. Yeah. I think prior to the Japan trip, nobody in Ghana would have said to us or would have said to himself or herself that Alidu Seidu is well capable enough to play at World Cup level or at AFCON level. And when we watched the game back, we were very impressed. Yes, he picked up a red card, but even that is also part of education. It's a learning process for the player and for everybody else, because we talked about still having the composure and the calmness, even though you are under stress. When we get to the World Cup, we would need everybody to stay on the pitch and not pick up unnecessary yellow cards, unnecessary red cards, because it will end up costing you games. But his performance as a player was outstanding. So we've gained something in just one game. where we've gained a very, very good player. The game against Japan that we lost 4-0, people probably think that, yeah, but why you guys always talk about the games you won or the games you did well? The thing is, when you lose like that, you actually learn more about the group than when you win 4-0. So again, we look at the resilience of the team, who still kept going, who still played in their role and responsibilities and made the right decisions when it was required. And if you look at it, we've got a South American team in the group against Uruguay. So playing in games like that, and we've got South Korea. So when we went to Asia to play against Japan, it gives us an idea of what we are going to expect when we play South Korea, or is it called Republic Korea, sorry. And then when we played against Chile equally, it will give us an idea, right, when we're playing against Uruguay. So these type of friendly games are really good for the coaches, but also for the players to get an idea of what to expect once we get to the World Cup.
Well, speaking of what to expect, based on your experiences from the Caribbean Cup, which you think mirrored what to really look forward to in our group games, how ready do you think the team is, and what has to be done from now up until November?
I think I talked about style of play, responsibilities on the pitch, and the philosophy of what we want to try and do and achieve. I think everybody saw a glimpse of it against Nigeria, where we build up from the back, sometimes with 3. And we all could see that the goalkeeper is really important in that role, plays a big role in playing out from the back. And we also could see that we were trying to play through midfield with combinations, rotations from midfielders, trying to get our 6 on the ball if it's possible. If not, can we use the spaces on the wide areas, depending on where the opposition is giving us the freedom to do so. So if you look at that, if you ask me how well or is the team ready for the World Cup, I would like to say it's always progressing, because you're not sure yet who you're going to have available, right? But the most important thing is that everyone that has been in camp with us so far is getting the idea of, okay, this is how we play out from the back. This is how we play through midfield. And this is how we finish the attack in the final third, either through crosses, combination play, or forward runs. So the idea is gradually progressing. And hopefully, when we get to November, hopefully, the group that we will have will definitely understand what we are looking for and what the requirements are, because they are very, very good players.
Just to try and get into the minds of the coaches, I know it's a tough job when it comes to selecting the final squad. Is this something that you've already started discussing?
You'll be surprised that we started discussing this probably back in April this year.
Wow.
Yeah. You see, we are different type of staff together, and also different in the sense that Ghana has never had this situation before, whereby I was with the under-21s, with Villa in Birmingham, Chris Hughton lives in London, Didi Dramani is traveling between Ghana and US and Denmark, then Otto is busy with Dortmund, also traveling. But all I can say is that we work hard. Yeah, we work hard. And we have our Zoom meetings usually, we have our staff meetings online, there's lots of phone calls, messages in the group. And we are all aware of every single player's situation and capabilities and abilities. So as a staff, we work really day and night, really, especially when we are together. But we have found a lot of time to spend time together, either through online or phone calls or emails. So not just only the technical staff, you know, there are also staffs behind the technical staff, so the management team, the medical team, the analysis team, the athletic development team. So it's not just us. So there's a lot of communication going on behind scenes. But I think what I personally like, and Otto definitely, and the staff, is we have chosen for not to be so much in public with what we are doing. I remember the best example that I could give you was when we played Nigeria. We got criticized because the Nigerian coach went to watch some of the players at Arsenal, and we haven't watched anybody. But we have watched them. Just we've watched them differently, and we've watched them, but we also haven't put anything out there at the time because we chose to keep it that way. Recently, you've seen probably in the media a bit more, especially about me or Chris going to a game or Otto meeting other players, because we like to now and then drip feed the nation that we are really busy, but we don't put everything out there. Yeah. Because sometimes that can also work against you. It can really be a negative factor sometimes, so you have to choose the right moment and the right information.
So during one of those meetings, did you ever discuss the friendlies? I'm talking about Brazil, Switzerland, Nicaragua. What role did the technical team play in choosing these 3 specific friendly games?
We are always in charge about whatever games we are playing and who we are playing. But you have to also remember that the FA plays a huge part in there because they are the ones that are going to do the logistics and the whole organization. We come in only in the final third. Once everything has been agreed, then we step in. But we are always aware of what's going on. And we knew already some weeks ago that Brazil is in the pipeline. Nicaragua came then on top. So we then as staff already start working on them, doing our homework and the rest of it. But yeah, for us, it's beautiful again, because I gave you example of why we played Japan and Chile in Japan. Now we've got Brazil, again, for the same reason. You're playing against the world #1. What a challenge. What a prospect to look forward to. As a coach, you want to test yourself against the best, but I can also say definitely the players will want to test themselves against the best. So playing against Brazil is a game that you don't need motivation for. You'll be more than motivated to get out there and perform. And also it will give us a good indication of the level that we are at, the players individually, collectively, and as a group of staff with the players. Nicaragua would be different. I think Nicaragua would be a different challenge because they are not so highly ranked as Brazil. But the danger in that is that sometimes players then become very, very complacent, thinking, oh, this will be an easier game. But there are no such thing as easy games. I am 46 years old, but if you give me time and space on the ball, I think I can also hurt you.
Yeah, I'd love to see that. But let's talk about the new inclusions at the Black Stars. Various players have been made available for selections. If you're looking at the key ones, that's probably Inaki Williams, Tariq Lamptey, Mohamed Salisu, and some other young players as well, including Stephen Ambrosius. We have Patrick Pfeiffer, Ransford Yeboah. I hope I haven't missed out on anyone. But what impact do you expect these players to have in the team? And how would that change expectations now going into the World Cup?
Well, first and foremost, I think it's important to stress out that the players that we've brought on board is to strengthen the team, is to make it better, to give Ghana the opportunity to compete at the World Cup stage. That's the most important thing. I have always obviously picked up all the messages and heard the noise about what about the players that have played for Ghana, who have qualified Ghana, and who are now going to miss out and who may not play. Yeah. But if you look at it, I would like to give a very good example, right? At the moment, we are all serving the country, which is Ghana. And Ghana is #1. Nobody within the team, as a group of players, is more important than Ghana. Nobody in the staff, technical staff, is more important than Ghana, including myself. If I don't deliver what my requirements are for the job, I shouldn't be in there, okay? So the reason why I'm saying that is because the boys that have come along will create competition for the current squad, right? They will also give us more options in terms of substitutions, in terms of games. Now, as an example, we're playing Brazil, Nicaragua in 4 days. Some of these players will have restrictions in terms of minutes from their respective clubs. Some will pick up injuries. So for coaching staff and for Ghana, it is really imperative that we have those options, that we can also change. So the better players we have, starting as well as on the bench, the more opportunities and more chances we give ourselves, again, Ghana, to do well at the World Cup. So we've been very careful with what we've done and who we've brought on board. And again, this is to create competition. So let's just take the right back position as an example. Prior to me joining, right, was only Andy Yadom at right back, that I thought is a good player and is doing well at decent level, playing at Reading. Currently, we have Andy Yadom, we have Dennis Odoi, we have Tariq Lamptey, and also Alidu Seidu can play there. We have 4 incredible talent at our disposal. And that's just on the right back position. If we want to compete at World Cup stage, we need to have the best players available for us to compete with the best. Take England, for example. Their right back positions, Trent Arnold, Reece James, Trippier. Wan-Bissaka doesn't even make the squad.
I think Kyle Walker is always in there. Yeah.
Kyle Walker is in there, Man City. So please, all I ask is, or all we ask as staff, is for the nation to understand that what we are doing is the best for the country, and nobody is bigger than the country, than the team, including the staff, including any player or management. Every decision we will make and have taken so far is in the best interest of the country.
Well, as you wrap up, George, I just want to touch on this subject with the team. We've had a lot of discussion on the local players. Do they deserve a chance? Specific player names being mentioned. And every World Cup, there is this notion that we save a quota for our local players just to help them feel that level of inclusion. What are your thoughts on that? And what do you think local players have to do on their end to be able to catch the eye of the technical team?
Yeah, it's a very good question. And if you look at the overall situation with the Ghana football, it definitely needs to improve. And you have to look at how can it be improved. How can we make Ghana football better? How can we bring Ghanaian players more to light for the overseas players? How can we find the next gem, the next Michael Essien, the next Stephen Appiah, the next Asamoah? How can we find these players? Which is through our national teams. Sometimes you don't need a player to have already a big name to be an outstanding player. You can find a gem. How many World Cup games have we seen? As a player comes on the scene. I remember vaguely when I was young, a striker from Italy, Toto Schillaci, never heard of. And he came on the scene and started scoring goals. So it's the same with the local players here. We as staff are monitoring it really closely, and we are watching to see who is capable of to join the team, to push some of these boys who are international level out of the squad. Now, what they need to do more, which I understand, when you are a local player and you come with the Black Stars. Example, Thomas Partey is playing for Arsenal, Emirates, played for Atletico Madrid. He's a top player, right? So I can understand when a local player joins the camp and he sees Thomas, it's like, wow.
They're starstruck.
Yes,
Yeah.
You know, which is understandable. I think what we do very well as staff is we have individual chats with them, especially the local players, and we try to give them the confidence that you are here not because by a merit. You are here because you've deserved it. You've earned the right to be here. Now go out there and enjoy yourself. Make sure that we see you. You do the right things at all times. And the local players we've had so far have done so. The only thing I would like to say is that the level is high.
Yeah.
The level currently is higher than most people think it is. because you are going to play against the likes of Cristiano Ronaldo, the likes of Diaz, which is it's just unbelievable, right? The level is high, high, high. So all I would say is that when they come on board, just give your best shot and fight for a place, but don't come to Black Stars to be a number. Come to make a change, come to make an impact. And we as staff definitely want that. We want to help those players to also make a career and to make an impact.
Well, that's just by way of advice for local players out there, especially in the Ghana Premier League. But before we go, just in your final words, what should Ghanaians expect at Qatar?
Well, I've heard some people saying like we're going to make history. But I think that's a bit over the top, in all honesty. I think people shouldn't forget that the level is so high and the competition is tough. But we as staff are definitely not the underdogs. We're not going there to make up numbers. We are going there to compete, and we will compete, and the players are ready. I think you've seen the game against Nigeria when they face a fierce opposition, and when the games are tough and they are asked to deliver, I think we have seen that they can deliver. Yeah. So even though we may not be the favourites to get out of the group stages, but what I can say is that the group will be ready to compete and fight to get out of the group stages. What to expect is a team that is hungry and is willing to make their country proud. And that's all we ask from the players. When you step on the pitch, you make sure you give everything you have in the tank. And if you come off the pitch and you've done that, the result will take care of itself. Most of the time, it actually might be in your favor, the result. And which you saw when we played against Chile. So I can't sit here and say to you, we are going to write history or we are going to do this, do that, do that. All I would say, in all honesty, the boys will be ready and they will compete.
All right, thank you, George. It's been an honor to sit here with you.
Pleasure.
And talk about a range of subjects. That's how we'll be wrapping up our Joy Sports special interview. Yeah, my name is Owuraku Ampofo. You can stay updated on our social media handles at Joy Sports GH.